Your salary is the most addictive drug society has created.
It's administered to you every 15 or 30 days. A carefully measured dose of security designed to ease your fears, to keep you functioning within the system. But, like any drug, its effect is temporary, and the need for the next dose becomes the reason for your existence. You think you work to live, but in reality, you only live to go back to work. It's a perfect cycle of financial sedation. This is not a theory. It's the observable reality in the lives of millions. Look at the employee who celebrates Friday and feels a sting of anxiety on Sunday afternoon. His life is ruled by someone else's clock. Now, look at the founder, the investor, the creator. They don't chase the paycheck. They build systems, assets, machines that work while they sleep. Their mind isn't on the next payday, but on the next asset. Neuroscience confirms it. Your brain is wired to seek certainty and avoid the pain of risk. The fixed salary takes full advantage of this primitive mechanism. It gives you the illusion of safety, while silently stealing your most valuable asset, your time. It trades away your unrecoverable hours of life for a piece of paper that loses value every day. Those who escaped aren't smarter. They simply reprogram their response to fear. They stop chasing the certainty of a paycheck and embrace the freedom of controlled uncertainty. So now, I ask you, are you ready to tear down the identity that keeps you tied to a paycheck, so your financial life stops echoing your self-imposed limitations? You're learning with the financial artisan. And now, let's get into today's lesson.
The poor and middle class work for money. The rich have money work for them. These words from Robert Kiyosaki in Rich Dad, Poor Dad are not just a motivational phrase. They are the exact X-ray of the difference between a scarcity mindset and an abundance mindset. They are the key that separates those who build wealth from those who just survive month to month. This quote contains a truth that goes beyond finance. It speaks of a completely different way of understanding what money is, what time is, and what freedom is. While most see money as something earned in exchange for time and effort, the rich see it as a tool that can multiply without their direct intervention. Kiyosaki learned this lesson from his rich dad, an entrepreneur who taught him that the real game is not to get a higher salary, but to acquire assets that generate income while you sleep. It is not about working harder, but about working smarter. It is not about job security, but about financial security. And here is what no one explains to you. This is not a difference in strategy. It is a difference in mentality so profound that it determines every financial decision you make. It determines whether you see an investment opportunity or just see risk. It determines whether you prioritize assets or liabilities. It determines whether you build a financial future or just survive the present. Kiyosaki's quote is a mirror. It shows you exactly which category you are living in right now, and confronts you with the most uncomfortable question. Are you going to continue being an employee of your own money, or are you going to become its boss? And this is the revelation that is redefining how smart people think about money in the 21st century. It is not just about investments or business. It is about a complete mental reorganization of what it truly means to be financially free. For decades, we have been programmed to believe that financial security comes from getting a good job, working hard for 40 years, and hoping that retirement will be enough. We have been sold the idea that a stable salary is the pinnacle of economic success. We have been convinced that being an employee is the normal and safe way to live. But while you and I were educated to be employees, there's a small elite that was educated to be owners. While we were taught to work for money, they were taught to make money work. While we learned to seek job security, they learned to create financial security. This difference is not accidental. It is the result of two completely different educational systems. One designed to create obedient and productive employees. Another designed to create asset owners and wealth generators. The question is, in which of these two systems do you want to live the rest of your life? Because once you understand this principle, once you truly internalize it, your relationship with money changes forever. You no longer see a job as your primary source of income. You no longer see a salary as your financial ceiling. You no longer see retirement as something that depends on others. You start to see opportunities where before you only saw expenses. Perhaps this routine is painfully familiar to you. You wake up every morning to the sound of an alarm you hate. You get up to go to a job that does not excite you, to work for someone else, building their dreams while yours are postponed month after month, year after year. You come home tired, with barely enough energy for your family or your personal projects. You use the weekends to recover from the week's work, and on Mondays, you wake up with that heavy feeling in your stomach, knowing that the cycle begins again. You tell yourself it is temporary, that it is necessary, that someday things will be different. But the months turn into years, and the years turn into decades, and you realize you have exchanged most of your life for a salary that barely allows you to survive. You have sold your time, your energy, your creativity, and your freedom for the illusion of economic security. Meanwhile, there are people who wake up when they want, who travel when they want, who have time for their families and their passions, and who get richer every day without needing to work more hours. Not because they are smarter or luckier, but because they understood a fundamental truth that you have not yet implemented. The difference between your reality and theirs is not the money they have now. It is the way they think about money. It is the difference between seeing money as something you earn by working, or seeing it as something that can work for you. If you are ready to break this cycle, if you are tired of being a slave to a salary, then stay with me, because what comes next will change your perspective forever. But there is a deeper programming that explains why most people remain trapped in the rat race. From childhood, we are programmed to be employees. We are taught that the path to success is study hard, get good grades, find a secure job, work hard, and hope that someone else recognizes our value and rewards us with a raise or a promotion. This employee mindset is so ingrained that even when we earn more money, we still think like employees. We buy liabilities thinking they are assets. We buy bigger houses, more expensive cars, more expensive vacations, but we never buy assets that generate income. We increase our lifestyle at the same pace as our income increases, always keeping us in the same relative financial. But the truly rich were educated differently. Warren Buffett started investing at 11 years old, not because he had money, but because he understood the concept of compound interest from an early age. He learned that every dollar he does not invest today is a dollar that will not be working for him for the next 50 years. Robert Kiyosaki tells how his rich dad taught him the difference between assets and liabilities from a young age. He taught him that the rich buy assets, while the poor and middle class buy liabilities, thinking they are assets. This early education marked his entire way of seeing money and opportunities. Here is the universal law that governs all of this. The law of compound interest does not only apply to money, but to all aspects of life. What you do today, repeated consistently, multiplies exponentially over time. If you work for money every day, you become an expert at being an employee. If you make money work for you every day, you become an expert at creating wealth. Neuroscience has shown that our brain is programmed to seek immediate rewards. A monthly salary satisfies this need for instant gratification, but investments require patience and long-term vision. The rich train their brain to sacrifice immediate rewards for the exponential rewards of the future. That is the fundamental difference. Let me tell you the story that changed everything for a young Robert Kiyosaki. It is a real case study on how a millionaire mindset is forged. At 9 years old, he and his friend Mike asked Mike's father, known as Rich Dad, to teach them how to make money. Rich Dad hired them to work in one of his stores for a pittance, 10 cents an hour. After weeks of hard work and an insulting wage, young Robert, frustrated and feeling exploited, went to quit. Right at that moment of maximum frustration, Rich Dad revealed the first lesson. He told him, "I have been teaching you from day one." Most people would spend their lives complaining about the low pay and waiting for a raise. You got fed up. That is the first step. Then he took away their salary completely. He offered them to continue working for free. The goal was to force their minds to stop thinking like an employee and start seeing the opportunities that others did not see. Instead of focusing on the 10 cents, Robert and Mike discovered that the stores threw away old comics. They had an idea. They opened a comic book library for the neighborhood kids, charging a small admission fee. Without working more hours for Rich Dad, they now earned much more money than before. They had created their first asset. Rich Dad did not pay them with money. He paid them with a lesson that was worth millions. Money is not earned, it is created. And it is created by training your mind to see opportunities where others only see work. Point 1. The mental revolution of seeing money as an employee. This is where your mind needs to make its first fundamental shift. Most people see money as something they get in exchange for their time and effort. But the rich see every dollar as a potential employee that can work for them 24 hours a day, without breaks, without vacations, without complaints. When you have $1,000 in your savings account, those $1,000 are unemployed. They are not producing anything. They are not growing. They are not working. But when you invest those $1,000 in an asset that generates 10% annually, you have just hired an employee who will pay you $100 a year, every year, without you having to do anything else. The difference between the rich and the poor is not the amount of money they have, but the amount of money they have working for them. A millionaire who spends all his money on luxuries and has no income-generating assets is technically more broke than someone with $50,000 invested in assets that produce consistent passive income. Point 2. The cash flow system. That changes everything. And here is the secret that separates wealth builders from collectors of things. The rich do not focus on their net worth. They focus on their monthly cash flow. They do not ask, how much money do I have? They ask, how much money comes into my account every month without me having to work for it. Cash flow is the lifeblood of financial freedom. You can have $1 million in the bank, but if you do not have cash flow, you are still dependent on your job. In contrast, you can have $100,000 in assets that generate $4,000 a month in passive income, and you are technically freer than the millionaire with no cash flow. The rich systematically build multiple streams of passive income: stock dividends, property rents, business royalties, loan interests, profits from businesses that run without their direct presence. Each stream is like a money faucet that never turns off, that works for them while they sleep, while they travel, while they enjoy time with their family. Point 3. The assets versus liabilities mindset that redefines your future. But here comes the distinction that will revolutionize every financial decision you make from now on. An asset is something that puts money in your pocket every month. A liability is something that takes money out of your pocket every month. It sounds simple, but most people buy liabilities thinking they are buying assets. Your house is not an asset if you live in it. It is a liability because it costs you money every month in mortgage, taxes, maintenance, and utility. Your car is not an asset. It is a liability that depreciates and costs you money in gas, insurance, and maintenance. Your credit cards are not assets. They are liabilities that charge you interest. True assets are rental properties that generate monthly rent, stocks that pay you dividends, businesses that produce profits without your direct work, bonds that pay you interest, royalties from intellectual property. The rich dedicate their lives to accumulating assets, while the middle class dedicates their life to accumulating liabilities disguised as social status. Point 4. The exponential power of systematic reinvestment. And this is where the magic really begins to unfold. The rich not only make money work for them, but they take the profits that money produces and reinvest them to buy more assets. It is like hiring employees who use their salary to hire more employees, creating an army of money that works for you. Warren Buffett has never sold his Coca-Cola shares because he understands that every dividend he receives can be reinvested to buy more assets. This year's dividends buy shares that will produce dividends next year, and those dividends will buy more shares, and so on. It is the compound effect in action. This mindset of systematic reinvestment means that every gain becomes an opportunity to generate more future gains. You do not spend the fruits of your investments. You replant them so that the tree grows bigger and produces more fruit next year. This is how you build generational wealth that transcends your own life. Let me translate this into concrete steps you can implement this very week. These are not theories. They are specific actions that separate those who only talk about financial freedom from those who actually build it. Action 1. Audit your cash flow and reclassify your assets. Take a sheet of paper and divide your page into 2 columns. In the left column, write everything you own that puts money in your pocket each month. In the right column, write everything that takes money out of your pocket each month. Be brutally honest. Your house, your car, your credit cards go in the right column. Your investments, rents, dividends go in the left column. Most people discover that their left column is empty or nearly empty, while their right column is full. This shows you exactly why you are still working for money instead of having money work for you. Every item in your right column is a financial drain that keeps you trapped in the rat race. Every item you can move to your left column brings you one step closer to financial freedom. Action 2. Establish your money army with automatic investments. Open an investment account this week and set up an automatic transfer of at least 10% of your income to low-cost index funds. Do not wait until you have more money. Do not wait until you understand everything about investing. Start with what you have now, even if it is $50 or $100 a month. Warren Buffett recommends S&P 500 index funds for most people because they have historically generated an average of 10% annually over the long term. This means your money doubles every 7 years without you having to do anything else. If you automate this process, you are hiring financial employees who will work for you for decades, generating wealth while you focus on increasing your income and acquiring more assets. Action 3. Develop your financial education with Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Read the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki in physical format. Not an audiobook, not digital, physical. Reading on paper improves your concentration and allows you to take notes, underline key concepts, and build a consistent reading habit that will strengthen your mental discipline in all areas of your life. This book will teach you to think like the rich think about money, assets, liabilities, and opportunities. Each chapter will change a limiting belief about finance that you have held for years. It is the educational foundation you need to make better financial decisions for the rest of your life. In the pinned comment, you will find the Amazon link to buy it and support the channel directly. But whether you decide to buy it or not, simply by listening to this video, you are already supporting. So thank you for that. This is your chance to change the entire trajectory of your financial life. Not in 10 years. Not when you have more money. Not when you are older. Now. Every day that passes without implementing these principles is a day that you remain an employee of your own financial survival. The rich were not born knowing these secrets. They learned them. They implemented them, and they turned them into daily habits. The difference between them and you is not the money they had at the beginning. It is the mindset they developed about how money really works. That mindset is now available to you. You have 2 paths before you. You can continue to trade your time for money until the day you die, hoping that someone else will be responsible for your financial security. Or you can start today to build an army of money that works for you 24 hours a day, creating the freedom you deserve and the security you need. The choice is yours. But remember this: the time you do not invest in your financial education, the money you do not put to work, the opportunities you do not take because of fear or ignorance, are decisions that will determine whether in 10 years you will be celebrating your financial freedom or regretting having wasted another decade of your life as a slave to a salary. Leave me a comment below. What is the first asset you are going to acquire to start building your army of money that works for you? In the next video, You will discover why the traditional education system programmed you to be poor, and how financial literacy can be your greatest competitive advantage in a world where 95% of people do not understand how money really works. Do not miss it and subscribe so you do not miss this revelation that could change your perspective on education forever.